I got lasting remission, meaning few to no symptoms. Check.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal. Cancers including lymphoma and skin. Serious allergic reactions, GI tears, death, heart attack, and stroke occurred. CV event risk increases in age 50 plus with a heart disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events, infection, Hep B or C, smoked, are pregnant or planning. Don't take if allergic or have an infection.
Put UC and Crohn's in check and keep them there with Rinvoq.
Ask your gastroenterologist about Rinvoq.
When choosing the right gear to cut, trim, or mow your yard, Ace has all the power you need to get the job done right. Because gas or battery, your local Ace is the destination with the best power brands all under one roof, like Steel, Ego, Milwaukee, Craftsman, and Toro. And with free assembly and delivery, or ready for pickup in just 15 minutes, conquering your outdoor projects has never been easier. Around the block, what you need in stock, with service so good it's guaranteed.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Did the re-election of Donald Trump play any role in your decision to resign? It sounds like you have the facts on your fingertips.
There really is much more that unites us than that which divides us.
Watch The Lead, weekdays at 5 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
Hello. I'm going to tell you about Now Kennedy. The first time I met him, he was only a kid.
We're family now.
Ruben, it's the best and the worst thing all at once.
Don't talk like you're better than me.
I hate the way you live your life, but that doesn't stop me wanting every bit of it.
I still trust you more than anyone.
Hi, I'm Jackie, and this is The Real Real. It's the destination for authenticated luxury resale. You can get a Gucci bag like me.
Or the Rose sweater like me.
Or vintage Jimmy Choo heels like me.
Even a Cartier watch like me.
For up to 90% off retail. I know, imagine getting me for that price. And they drop over 10,000 new arrivals every day from the best luxury brands. So there's always something new to browse. So check out The Real Real, where the fashion speaks for itself, and get $25 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Breaking news out of the White House. President Trump just announced an extension of the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. Let's get straight to CNN's Kristen Holmes, who's at the White House for us. Kristen, what did the president say?
Yeah, Jake, currently he is in the Oval Office. He announced that the ceasefire is going to be extended another 3 weeks as they continue these negotiations. Of course, a reminder here that this ceasefire is supposed to be a holding place for a longer peace deal. He also implied that the president of Lebanon and the prime minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, would be here in Washington together within the next couple of weeks at the White House. So this is a 3-week extension. And of course, this also is a key part of any kind of negotiations that are going to happen or likely happen with Iran, given that Iran had said they wouldn't even come to the negotiating table if Lebanon was not part of the ceasefire. The fact that President Trump, his administration, had been able to negotiate that first ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon did give a lot of grace to the Iranis, who then started to come back But of course, as we know, there are no talks currently scheduled, so unclear if this is going to play a role in perhaps a second round of negotiations with Iran as well. But this in itself is a big deal. Another 3 weeks of this ceasefire as the two sides are trying to have negotiations on perhaps a long-term peace deal.
All right, Kristen Holmes at the White House, thanks so much. Now to the latest installment in our series, AI, Friend or Foe. Now, we've done a lot of stories on the potential dangers of AI on The Lead, but today we're going to take a look at the potential positive. ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, other AI applications have exploded in popularity recently. They're used by tens of millions of Americans, businesses, the military. Here's a question, though. How are physicians using AI programs like these? And what could that mean for your healthcare? Well, I spoke with the founder of a leading medical AI app to find out.
There's 2 new medical studies published every minute, 24 hours a day. That's 20,000 new medical studies published every week. It's obviously impossible, inconceivable even, to think that physicians could possibly read all of those and keep up.
That's Daniel Nadler, founder of a fast-growing artificial intelligence platform called Open Evidence, built specifically for doctors. Nadler says it's designed to help physicians keep up with an overwhelming and constantly expanding body of medical research. Nadler notes that if you narrowed down the material to just one doctor's one specialty, it would still take each doctor 9 hours a day to keep up.
Open Evidence is an AI that is essentially a brain extender for these physicians that machine reads on behalf of these physicians a lot of these papers in near real time and helps them look up and ultimately answer very complex medical questions.
Nadler says that a majority of doctors in the U.S. are already using Open Evidence. But in a field where the consequences can be life or death, relying on AI also raises serious questions.
So, Daniel, how do you prevent Open Evidence from the hallucinations we see of OpenAI? How do you prevent that in this world, which is, the stakes are so much higher?
We struck official AI partnerships with the New England Journal of Medicine, with the American Medical Association, with NCCN and ACC, which are the leading medical societies in cancer and heart disease.
Instead of generating answers from the open internet, Nadler says Open Evidence is designed to pull only from trusted human-written research.
It's actually much closer to search engines like Google, which have a much longer history than AI does of being able to rapidly find the right reference or rapidly find the right snippet of information in human-written text.
Daniel Nadler says one of the key benefits of Open Evidence is helping doctors think beyond the standard diagnosis, especially in complex or unclear cases.
You have to put the same notes.
It's a scenario my own family knows all too well.
I showed unusual symptoms, so I had pain all over my abdomen instead of just my right quadrant, which is normally the standard appendicitis pain.
In 2021, my then 14-year-old daughter Alice nearly died after doctors misdiagnosed her perforated appendix.
The way that they ruled out appendicitis was by a jump test. I was asked to jump, and I was able to maybe get 1 inch off the ground, and just that ruled out appendicitis for all the doctors. And that's when they just declared it was a viral infection.
Theoretically, how would this have helped my daughter back when this happened to her in 2021?
If you type some of the factors that she experienced into an AI like Open Evidence, it's not that it's going to identify the non-standard case as the most likely case, but what it's going to do is it's going to very quickly in the answer list the other things to look for, the other things to test for, the other things to consider.
To show how that works, Nadler ran Alice's case through Open Evidence himself.
And in the case of your daughter's experience, it listed as one of the things to test for and consider, in your daughter's case, appendicitis, something that the physicians, in primarily considering the standard presentation of symptoms, would have not necessarily immediately thought of.
Here's what the AI returned when asked about Alice's case. Quote, for a teenage female with generalized abdominal pain and a negative jump test, the differential diagnosis should include viral gastroenteritis, but also appendicitis.
It's never going to take a non-standard presentation of symptoms like your daughter has and say to the physician, you know what, with certainty, it's definitely appendicitis. It's definitely this non-standard thing to look for. But what it will do is rapidly fill in maybe the second sentence or the third sentence or the fourth sentence that you should consider this.
So, not a diagnosis, but a nudge, a second set of eyes in a system where doctors are already overburdened.
If you have a very smart colleague, you make sure to sort of bounce things off of them, to sanity check things with them. And I think that's the best use of these technologies, the best use of open evidence, as essentially a digital colleague.
For Daniel Nadler, that's the role of AI in medicine, not replacing doctors, but backing them up. And in cases such as Alice's, where a misdiagnosis can turn critical, that could make all the difference.
Tomorrow we continue our series, AI, Friend or Foe. The Florida Attorney General this week said that ChatGPT maker OpenAI bears criminal responsibility for a deadly mass shooting at Florida State University a year ago. We're going to dig into some of the very disturbing messages to see just what this chatbot told the gunman. A new report claims that a Republican member of Congress is simply missing in action. He's missed dozens of votes. He hasn't been seen by his colleagues in weeks. What is going on with New Jersey Republican Congressman Tom Kean Jr.?
My moderate to severe Crohn's symptoms kept me out of the picture. Now I have Skyrizi.
And now, I'm back in the picture. Skyrizi is the only IL-23 inhibitor proven to help achieve remission, meaning few to no symptoms in just 4 weeks for some people. Many were in remission at 12 weeks, at 1 year, and even at 4 years. Plus, Skyrizi is proven to help visibly repair damage of the intestinal lining.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's.
Now's the time to take control of your Crohn's. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's disease.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. You know, most wireless companies, they make a countdown clock for when a deal will end, but Mint's been offering the premium wireless for $15 a month for so long that we've made the world's first count-up clock. How long it goes? Nobody knows. Well, I know, but nobody else knows. It goes forever. Forever and ever. That's right, forever a clock.
When curiosity strikes about the everyday lives of your family, we're here with answers only your ancestors can provide. See their stories at Ancestry.
When my hair started to thin, I thought, am I going to have any hair left?
After I gave birth, my hair wasn't even thin, it was gone.
When I spoke to my dermatologist, he immediately pointed me in the direction of Nutrafol.
It's 100% drug-free and clinically tested.
Within 3 months, my hair was fuller.
It's longer, it's so much thicker.
I had more scalp coverage.
It was so nice to be noticed for my hair after hiding it for so many years.
Start your hair growth journey at Nutrafol.com.
The Source with Caitlin Collins. Weeknights at 9 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
Ego, the #1 rated branded cordless outdoor power, pushes the boundaries of innovation to power the unexpected, all on one battery platform. Experience the industry's most powerful cordless pressure washer with advanced digital controls. A string trimmer so smart, it loads the line with the push of a button. And our most powerful blower that exceeds the power of gas. Ego takes innovation to the next level. One battery powers all tools. Find an Ego retailer near you.
prostate supplement. And now you can find it in every Walmart nationwide. Don't ignore your prostate health. Get Super Beta Prostate.
How often do you go in this thing? Daily. There's so much bad information. The really good information gets drowned.
Nosferatu is emerging.
You look like a child.
Kara Swisher Wants to Live Forever. Now streaming on the CNN app.
Politics now. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is facing pressure from Republicans in D.C. to push back on Virginia's Democratic gerrymander, which voters approved on Tuesday, giving Democrats a 10-to-1 advantage in the Commonwealth. Republicans view Florida as their last best chance to forge an advantage in the redistricting wars, the gerrymandering wars to be precise, set in motion by President Trump's pressure on Texas last summer. Here in studio is our panel. We should say redistricting, gerrymandering. This is a not proud American tradition that dates back to the Founding Fathers. Jerry is named after a Founding Father. It's the mid-decade redistricting push for the clear advantage of a party that's new here. So apparently President Trump and Governor DeSantis have made up after their bitter 2024 primary fight. One Florida Republican operative familiar with Governor DeSantis' thinking tells Politico, quote, DeSantis would still like to get something done on redistricting, but he realizes it will be tough for Republicans to retain the House regardless of what happens in Florida. And there's also questions about whether you water down some of these districts in Florida, whether you're actually creating more competitive seats. Right. What do you think's going on here?
Well, I also thought it was interesting that we've seen these stories about how much Ron DeSantis would like to be Secretary of War or maybe on the Supreme Court. And
at the same time that this is happening.
At the same time this is happening, which is also a grand old tradition in American politics of trading favors of these sorts of things. I think, so far this has really blown up in Republicans' faces. And I don't think that the Virginia gerrymander, and it is a gerrymander, right?
Of course.
Is actually going to withstand legal scrutiny.
You think the Virginia Supreme Court's going to overturn it?
Apparently this 90-day thing is like hardcore black letter law, but I'm not a lawyer. I can still see my reflection in mirrors. Yeah. I think this needs to stop, and I think DeSantis, if he's actually thinking about running for president again in the future, he's in this terrible bind, because on the one hand, the base of the party really wants him to come to the rescue in the redistricting wars. On the other hand, it puts him back in sort of MAGA lackey mode, which I don't think he likes to be in.
Yeah, although it's not to say that will hurt him in the primary. Listen to the Democratic House Leader Hakeem Jeffries, for whom this would actually mean, theoretically, a promotion to Speaker. Take a listen.
And we're going to keep the pressure on them in Florida. The Trump Republican gerrymandering scheme has failed. Why? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
That's a Mike Tyson quote, I believe. So the fight's headed to Florida. What do you think is going to happen with Florida and Virginia?
Yeah, look, I think Ron DeSantis would probably be foolish to take this on in Florida. I think, first of all, the Florida Constitution makes it very challenging for him to draw a map that nets Republicans the kind of seats that I think they would need to make this worth the effort. But I think the politics across the board on this are bad. I mean, I think Democrats got this over the finish line in Virginia, in part because they really effectively messaged that this was their pushback against Trump's efforts. But across the board, gerrymandering not popular. And I think that ultimately, somebody like Ron DeSantis, who presumably has eyes on 2028 and beyond, taking this on as the partisan mantle right now, I think is probably not a smart thing for him to do.
A concerning story about the governor's debate for Democrats, which is the Atlantic is saying that this is not a particularly strong field. And let's turn to the debate in California, the first since Eric Swalwell, one of the Democratic frontrunners, dropped out of the race. I don't know if you caught that. There was a story about Swalwell.
I heard. To spend more time with his family.
I heard.
To spend more.
Yeah.
Anyway, Javier Becerra, Biden's former HHS secretary, had said that he, quote, heard rumors of the allegations about Swalwell. He was asked why he never followed up on them when he was the chair of the Democratic caucus. Here's what he said.
Rumors are not facts, and the caucus, the Democratic caucus, is not a place that adjudicates those things. It's law enforcement that does. If someone had come forward, we could then have investigation.
Okay.
Yeah, he's right about that. I mean, I think there were rumors about Swalwell's infidelity that in and of itself is, while repugnant, is not a crime, nor does it fall on members of the Democratic caucus to investigate it. I think the sum total of the debate yesterday showed us that there isn't really a front runner in this race yet. I think there was not a particularly standout moment really for any of the candidates. They're obviously all in the wake of the Swalwell disruption, shall we say, trying to both define themselves and also prevent their opponents from taking up that space. So it was sort of a forgettable debate, frankly, and we have a month to go before California voters vote. We'll see.
So Leibovitz writes in The Atlantic, even with Swalwell's exit, quote, the Democrats' flailing field might be narrowed slightly and perhaps improved by subtraction, but very much remains a bottleneck of B-listers. Do you think anyone had a standout moment? Do you think that there's any potential for any of these guys or Katie Porter to rise?
Well, I don't think, because God's not that generous to Republicans, that it'll come down to 2 Republicans, right? Which was a scenario that people thought was possible. So one of them will rise as a fact of math. I think it is astounding. Look, California, if it was an independent country, I think would have the 4th largest economy in the world. It is this amazingly serious state with massive industry, huge population, and it is a perfect example of how being controlled by one party breeds sort of subpar political classes. The state needs real competition.
Thanks to both of you. Appreciate it. An investigation is underway tonight in Israel after a man says police took him in custody because they didn't care for the Palestinian flag on the yarmulke he was wearing. He eventually got it back, but says the Palestinian flag on that yarmulke was cut out of it. Does this say something more significant about politics in Israel today? Well, we're going to talk with that man next.
Hey. Hi. Could you please submit your expenses today? You have those expense reports? Hi. Can you submit those receipts?
Never chase a receipt again. Ram. Love finance.
When you're away from the spotlight, you have time to think about what really matters. Oh! The spotlight!
There's something about this place. It's magical and majestic.
Eva Longoria, Searching for France. Sunday at 9 on CNN and next day on the CNN app.
My brother, he's violent, unafraid, oddly charming, unpredictable.
You're going to kill me, Ruben?
No, there's an idea.
At Shutterfly, we know behind every unforgettable memory, there's someone who cared enough to preserve it. Here's to the storytellers, the family historians, the protectors of the fleeting. You're the reason Shutterfly made the original photo books over 25 years ago, and why no one makes it easier to tell your story. Make something that means something. Shutterfly. Save with code PICFREE.
You're feeding my grand dog Blue, right?
Purina One.
But Blue's got deboned chicken, chicken meal, brown rice, oatmeal, barley.
Purina One has chicken, rice flour, corn gluten meal, whole grain corn, chicken byproduct meal.
Let's switch to Blue.
Way Day, Wayfair's big sale is almost here. From April 25th through 27th, you get a front row seat to the best deals in home. Like up to 80% off everything home. Plus, surprise flash deals all Way Day long.
Now that's a steal.
With fast and free shipping on everything. Everything? Even the big stuff. These savings won't last, so mark your calendar and shop Way Day from April 25th through 27th for up to 80% off everything home.
The Situation Room, weekday mornings at 10 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
Grief isn't talked about much, but that's what my podcast is all about. Join me and my guests for a new season with new conversations about loss, life, and love.
All There Is with Anderson Cooper. Listen at cnn.com/allthereis.
A shocking story today of extremism in Israel. A Jewish man was harassed and had his yarmulke ripped apart by Israeli police. Alex Sinclair was minding his business. He was wearing a yarmulke which had knit into it both the Israeli flag and the Palestinian flag. He said he did this to promote peace. Israeli police approached him. They detained him. The police later, according to him, cut off the Palestinian flag portion of his yarmulke before returning it to him. It's a small thing, but certainly illustrative of a bigger problem in Israel. And Alex Sinclair joins us now. Alex, walk us through exactly what happened.
Hi, thanks for having me on the show. Great to meet you. Here's the yarmulke in question. You can see it's been ripped up. As you can see, I've been wearing it for many years. It has an Israeli flag here on one side. It did have a Palestinian flag on that side. And as you say, I wear this, or I used to wear this kippah, this yarmulke for many years as a way of expressing my desire as a religious Jew, as a religious Israeli, my desire for peace, my belief that as a Zionist, that the Jewish people have a right to a flag and a right to self-determination and a legitimate historical connection to this part of the world. And also, so do the Palestinians. The Palestinians are a people and have a legitimate historical connection to this part of the world, and also the right to national self-determination. So having both sides of this kippah, a flag on both sides of this yarmulke to show that was my way of kind of saying that to the world. And that's how I've been walking around that way for almost 20 years.
So obviously there's much more shocking things that come out of the Middle East beyond that. I mean, what's going on, for example, in the West Bank, the settlers that are committing horrific acts of violence against Palestinians there. But this story caught our eye because this is officially sanctioned by the Israeli police against just a flag. What does this say to you about the state of Israel today that this would happen?
Well, first of all, I would say that I have put in a report against the policewoman who did this to me, and I'm hopeful that justice will be done and that she'll be called up on it. But yeah, look, Israel is unfortunately going through a period of where there is extremism, and the government is turning a blind eye to all kinds of things in the West Bank and in Israel. There are many Israelis, including me, who want peace and who are very furious with this government, and we'll be having elections soon and really hoping to create a change in the regime, in the government. But yeah, Israel is a country right now which is struggling, as many countries are, pulled into extreme directions. And as a Zionist, as a Jew, as an Israeli, this worries me. And I think that people who want peace in the Middle East, people who want peace for Israelis and for Palestinians, need to be calling out extremism on the Israeli side and extremism on the Palestinian side. There are people on both parts of the conflict who want to delegitimize the other people's right to exist, the other people's right to self-determination, the other people's legitimacy as a people. There are Palestinians who do that to Israelis, and I think that we and the world need to call that out. Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran and people who say that anti-Zionists who say that Israel has no right to exist is outrageous. And it's outrageous when the Israeli police come and say that that's the same thing as the Palestinians. We need to grasp and hold that middle ground, that center ground that really holds up. But both peoples have a legitimate right to exist in this part of the world, and there won't be peace until we really enable that for both peoples.
So I want to note, for the people who are not necessarily following all of this, one of the reasons why I think that policewoman may have felt empowered to do what she did is because the national security minister, a horrific anti-Arab racist, bigot, and zealot named Itamar Ben-Gvir, he ordered police to ban Palestinian flags from public spaces in 2023. I interviewed Prime Minister Netanyahu in 2023, and I asked him about these two right-wing bigots, Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, who are part of his coalition, who are doing things like this, not just to Jews wearing, Palestinian flags on their yarmulkes, but, much more horrific things to Israeli Arabs and West Bank Palestinians. And take a listen to some of this. Gvir is now in charge of the security apparatus in Israel. One of the first things he did was to ban Palestinian flags being used in demonstrations. That seems completely contrary to any notion of free speech or free demonstration. Do you agree with that? Ban Palestinian flags?
That's actually a law that's been on the books in Israel for quite some time. I'm controlling the government, and I'm responsible for its policies, and the policies are sensible, and they're responsible and will continue to be that.
So I guess my question is, Netanyahu there trying to reassure people out there listening that Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, again, who are right-wing zealots and racist against Arabs, that they're not going to be in charge of his government. It's him in charge of his government. Who is in charge of his government?
Well, look, unfortunately, I'm skeptical. I think that, unfortunately, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich have inordinate influence over Israeli politics and Israeli society right now. I agree with you. They're right-wing bigots. They're racists. They're people whose Judaism is not my Judaism. They're people whose Zionism is not my Zionism. They're people who I think have pervert and bastardized Judaism, as I understand it. My work as a peace activist and many Israelis like me who go under the radar, who are not reported on, are doing everything we can to try to create a different kind of Judaism, a different kind of Zionism, a different kind of Israel. So I really hope that that we'll see a change. But yeah, I can't defend Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, and I won't defend them. I think that they're taking my country in a terribly dangerous and horrific direction.
Alex and Claire, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome to The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper. This hour, time is not on their side. That is the warning from President Trump about the Iranians tonight, as he also orders the U.S. Navy to shoot and kill any Iranian in boats placing mines in the Strait of Hormuz. So what does all of this mean for any potential negotiations? Well, we're going to go live to the region and the White House in just moments. Plus, authorities say they have foiled a mass shooting plot set to target a festival in New Orleans, Jazz Fest. The man in custody is a former police officer himself, allegedly arrested this morning with hundreds of rounds of ammunition. What we're learning about how investigators were tipped off. Also, hundreds of Georgia residents have been forced to evacuate their homes, fleeing the worst fires the state has seen in decades. Tens of thousands of acres already turned to ash, and concerns tonight the winds could make it even harder for crews to contain. And the NFL draft kicks off tonight in Pittsburgh, but the player widely expected to be the #1 selection will not be there. So CNN is live in Miami tonight, where quarterback Fernando Mendoza is celebrating with his family and friends as he takes this next step in his career. The Lead tonight, President Trump defiantly claiming he is in no rush for a deal with Iran.
I want to make the best deal. I could make a deal right now. You know who's under time pressure? They are. Because if they don't get their oil moving, their whole oil infrastructure is going to explode. I'm not under any pressure whatsoever.
This coming hours after Trump's post on Truth Social ordering the U.S. Navy to shoot and kill any Iranian boats placing mines in the Strait of Hormuz. CNN's Caitlin Collins is at the White House. CNN's Oren Lieberman is in Jerusalem. Caitlin, to you at first. At what point does Trump's strategic patience on Iran become a political liability, if not already?
Well, he didn't sound too worried about that, Jake, earlier when he was asked about high gas prices remaining so for the next foreseeable future as this war is continuing to go on, because the president said, yes, they may be up for a little bit, but he said in exchange for that, in exchange for what Americans are paying at the pump, they're getting an Iran that cannot have a nuclear weapon, as he phrased it earlier. Of course, whether voters feel the same way about that remains to be seen, Jake. But in terms of the timeline here and what this looks like, you know, the president initially said 4 to 6 weeks. It was a timeline that he repeated many, many times. So did Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, and so did other top aides. As the president said, that is the foreseeable future for what this war looks like. But now, Jake, of course, we have stretched into the 7th week, 5th day by my count since this war started. And when the president was asked multiple times about the timeline here earlier when he was inside the Oval Office, one of his quotes was, "Don't rush me." He then talked about how long Vietnam was, how long other wars that the United States has been in lasted. In comparison, he said, to the 6 weeks as he described it. Of course, it's much longer than that. We're now about to hit the 8th week of this war, Jake. But another thing that he was talking about in terms of Iran in the Strait of Hormuz is money that he believes Iran is losing because the strait is closed, as he put it this way earlier.
They came to us and they said, we will agree to open the strait. And all my people were happy. Everybody was happy except me. I said, wait a minute, if we open the strait, that means they're going to make $500 million a day. I don't want them to make $500 million a day until they settle this thing. So I'm the one that kept it closed. We have total control of it. And it'll open when they make a deal or something else happens that's very positive.
The president was arguing that the United States has total control of the Strait of Hormuz. Obviously, it doesn't, Jake, because it is still closed. Iran is still able to hit ships. That's why so many of them have not wanted to go through there, even though the president was saying last week and touting in events on the road that the Strait of Hormuz had been opened, citing Iranian officials. That is obviously still something that is an issue. And Jake, obviously, this comes after CNN had reported this earlier, but the Pentagon made it official to Congress this week that even if this war ended tomorrow, for example, it could take 6 months to clear the Strait of Hormuz of mines to make shipping safe and to make these companies feel safe and comfortable going through the strait.
Caitlin Collins at the White House, thanks. We're going to see you on The Source tonight. Meanwhile, Oren, a short time ago, President Trump announced the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, and it's extending 3 weeks. Tell us more.
This was the major expectation coming out of these talks held at the diplomat level between Israel and Lebanon under the auspices of the United States. And you saw Secretary of State Marco Rubio taking part in this as well. This is President Donald Trump trying to keep this ceasefire in place. The first one was a temporary 10-day ceasefire. We have seen both Israel and Iranian proxy Hezbollah accuse each other of violating the ceasefire. We have seen strikes and attacks, rockets and drone launches from Lebanon, from Hezbollah into northern Israel and at Israeli troops occupying southern Lebanon. So it was a question of whether this fragile ceasefire can hold. Trump has the leverage here. He has the ability to make that so, and he announced that it would be extended by 3 weeks. Now, that gives a month total for diplomatic talks here, but this is an incredibly complex, difficult situation that may require a lot of time to get through the diplomacy required to create diplomatic relations and certainly a broader peace agreement between Israel and Lebanon, which haven't had relations in decades. Trump also said that he hoped to soon host both Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Lebanese President Joseph Aoun at the White House. He's made clear that's one of his goals, to bring these two together for direct talks. But Aoun had declined to take a call with Netanyahu in recent days and said, coming out of a cabinet meeting in Lebanon this morning, or a government meeting, that talks with Netanyahu were not part of the deal here. So arranging that meeting and trying to move this forward still remains a very tall order, Jake.
All right, Oren Lieberman in Jerusalem, thanks so much. We're following some breaking news now. A U.S. Special Forces soldier who was involved in the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has just been arrested. He's accused of placing bets on that operation, bets that won him $400,000. I want to bring in CNN's Kara Scannell and CNN's John Miller. And Kara, you were first to report last month that this trade was under investigation. What do we know about this arrest?
This member was arrested today. What we know from the indictment is that he is an active military member. He was involved in the planning and execution of the capture of Nicolas Maduro. And according to authorities, he traded based on classified information that he knew about the raid. And here's what we know about the timing of these trades. He made these trades on Polymarket, one of those prediction markets, where he placed a bet that Maduro would be out of Venezuela by the end of January. These bets he started placing on December 27th, and he made them up until January 2nd. That U.S. capture happened in the early morning of January 3rd. So that paid out huge. His initial bets totaled about $32,000. He made more than $400,000 in profits. Now, this is the first criminal case that has been brought involving prediction markets. It involves these allegations of insider trading and misuse of government information for one's personal gain. He is facing 5 charges. According to authorities, he will be presented before a judge in North Carolina, where he is based. And then he will come to New York to ultimately face these charges. We don't know who his lawyer is, and he's in custody, so we haven't been able to reach him for comment. But prosecutors say that after he made these trades and he cashed out big, he sent the money overseas to a foreign crypto wallet and then ultimately cashed that out to an online brokerage account and then asked Polymarket to take it down once it had attracted so much attention. Jake?
John Miller, walk us through the investigative process when something like this gets on the radar of law enforcement.
Well, this is one of these things where first you see the suspicious activity, then you focus on Polymarket, as Kara said. You sit down with them, you issue federal grand jury subpoenas, and you trace that trade and that payment back to its origin. Jake, we've been talking about insider trading and inside information since the days of Ivan Boesky and Mike Milken. This is an entire new wrinkle when it's not just inside information, but it's inside classified information from an operator from U.S. Special Forces. Now, the Maduro raid was carried out by JSOC, the Joint Special Operations Command. The principal actors there were Delta Force, which is the elite U.S. Army equivalent to the Navy SEALs, and they were accompanied by FBI agents. But this is not just a question of the law, as he's going to find out in a prosecution. This becomes a question of the safety of his team by divulging classified information, and a question of honor.
All right, John Miller, Kara Scannell, thanks to both of you. CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Honig is back with us. Ellie, last hour we were talking about possible insider trading around the Iran war, and here is possible insider trading regarding the Maduro seizure.
Yeah. So let's take the principle we just discussed last hour, right? The 3-part test. Is the information material? Does it matter? Well, if he's on the strike team and he knows we are about to take out Maduro, bet that's material. Is it non-public? Of course. As John Miller just said, it's not just confidential, it's highly classified. And then finally, does he have a fiduciary duty? Does he have some duty to protect this? Of course he does. He's a soldier. The indictment actually specifies that he signed paperwork saying, I will not disclose classified or sensitive information. So you can see, I think the lesson here is insider trading charges are not necessarily just for Wall Street brokers and CEOs. They can be applied to anyone who has that type of sensitive information and then trades on it.
Well, exactly, especially these days when you can bet on literally anything.
Yeah.
So what do we know about who's going to handle the prosecution, if anything?
So this, as Kara said, he got arrested, so he'll initially appear in federal court in North Carolina, quickly be brought up to the Southern District of New York, my old office, which has made its bones over the years. It's famous for doing these insider trading cases. The office is a few blocks away from Wall Street. But again, it will apply here. The case has been assigned to a district court judge named Margaret Garnett. She was a colleague of mine as a prosecutor at the SDNY. She was actually in charge of the Gangs and Violent Crimes Unit. Very tough judge, very fair judge. I'm not sure I'd want to appear in front of her if I was a defendant. This individual is looking at a max of 20 years. He's not going to get anything like 20 years if he's convicted. Also, there's the question of bail. You know, Kara raised that. Typically, someone arrested with no priors on an insider trading case like this would get released on bail. So I don't expect him to be held before trial. But this is an insider trading case like any other you might see out of the SDNY.
All right, Ellie Honig, thanks so much for the update. Appreciate it. Today, police arrested a former cop who they say was planning a mass shooting, hoping to carry it out at a festival in New Orleans. We're going to dig into the allegations ahead. Plus, the head of the Oversight Committee in the House says some of his members are in favor of a pardon for Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell because that's the only way she will testify. I'm going to get a reaction from a Democrat on that committee coming up.
My moderate to severe Crohn's symptoms kept me out of the picture. Skyrizi. Feel significant symptom relief at 4 weeks. Many people were in remission at 12 weeks, at 1 year, and even at 4 years.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated with Crohn's.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi.
Hey. Hi. Could you please submit your expenses today? You have those expense reports? Hi. Can you submit those receipts?
Never chase a receipt again. RAM. Love finance.
Another day. Same pain, same meds, same struggling for symptom relief. Injections like Humira and Enbrel work similarly to treat moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis or psoriatic arthritis. But if your symptoms haven't improved enough, Rinvoq works differently. It's a once-daily pill that can rapidly relieve RA and PSA, joint pain, stiffness, and swelling, as fast as 2 weeks for some. Even after 3 years, many people felt this relief. In PSA, Rinvoq can leave skin noticeably clearer.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal, cancers including lymphoma and skin, serious allergic reactions, GI tears, death, heart attack, and stroke occurred. See the event risk increases in age 50 plus with a heart disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events: infection, Hep B or C, smoked, or pregnant, or planning. Don't take if allergic or have an infection.
Do something different. Ask your doctor if switching to Rinvoq is right for you.
At Ancestry, we believe every question about the past is a spark. And when curiosity strikes about the everyday lives of your family, we're here with answers only your ancestors can provide. Explore records, photos, and more to reveal your family story. Get started now at Ancestry.
$15 a month at Mint Mobile. When I premium wireless for $15 a month, I think, why not premium wireless for $15 a month? Who am I kidding? Premium wireless for $15 a month will always premium wireless for $15 a month. And sometimes premium wireless for $15 a month every time. No points for subtlety, right? Let's be honest, premium wireless for $15 a month, am I right? Let's just stop having AI write these, okay, guys?
What you do today changes what you need tonight. Maybe you're getting into something, or getting over something, growing, making a comeback, or making it up as you go. Changing days call for changing nights. That's why the new Comfort Mode mattress from Sleep Number adapts to your changing life. Softer or firmer for personalized comfort night after night. For a limited time, get free delivery when you add a base, only at Sleep Number.
From the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power, the Ego 22-inch aluminum deck mower. The most powerful mower in its class, producing the perfect razor-sharp cut. Find an Ego retailer near you.
We're back with our world lead and more on the breaking news of that U.S. soldier involved in the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, who was arrested after allegedly betting big on that very operation. Let's bring in Democratic Congresswoman Madeleine Bean of Pennsylvania, who sits on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congresswoman, what is your reaction to this news?
It's appalling. It's staggering. And maybe in this climate, it should not be surprising. But think about it. This is insider trading of a whole nother level. This is classified information. This is operational information. This is within days of the actual strike by special forces to get Maduro. It is staggering, obviously, clearly unregulated, clearly dishonorable, I hope criminal. But I worry that we're in a climate where folks see the grift at the top, the special betting on outcomes at the very top of this administration, and they think, I want a piece of it. It's so dishonorable. if it is as alleged, let's be clear, this is alleged.
Right.
It is so incredibly dishonorable, but you saw we had Lutnick in front of us today in the Appropriations Subcommittee hearing, and it appears his own sons are betting and buying up refunds for tariffs for pennies on the dollar in order to collect those tariffs because they bet that they would be found illegal.
Yeah,
it's happening grotesquely in this administration.
Yeah, on the subject of Lutnick, I also wanted to ask you about Lutnick's past ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And specifically, you referenced an interview he did last year with the New York Post where he claims he cut off ties with Epstein in 2005. But then with the release of the Epstein files, it was proven that that was not true. I want to play part of today's exchange between you two.
Why did you lie about your relationship with Epstein?
The House Oversight Committee and I have agreed.
We are the appropriate
the time
reclaiming
together.
my time. I do not accept that answer. Why did you lie to the Post?
I have voluntarily agreed to spend the time and talk about it.
So we should note, of course, that Lutnick is not accused of any criminal wrongdoing, but he is going to testify before the House Oversight Committee. We're told that that's going to happen on May 6th. What were you hoping to learn from him about his past ties to Epstein and his obvious lie about the fact that he had previously claimed he had nothing to do with him after 2005 when he had lunch with him after that?
I think it just goes to his credibility, his veracity. He is the sitting Commerce Secretary. So he was in front of us, the Appropriations Committee, for us to consider that which the department is asking for in its budget and take a look at what he did. What he did there was to act as though he was being magnanimous. He's going to go before the Oversight Committee. It's not testimony. Let's be very, very clear. It's not testimony. It's not under oath. It is not in public. It is not subject to subpoena. It's basically a closed-door conversation. Why wouldn't he, if he wanted to make sure everybody in America knew he had nothing to do with this guy, Mr. Epstein, whom he called disgusting from 2005, I think it was, when he and his wife first set foot in the next-door neighbor's house, Mr. Epstein's house? Why wouldn't he want to say to us, you know what, I am so looking forward to telling you right now how I had nothing to do with this gentleman. But he can't, because he dramatically, in that podcast, talked about how they were so disgusted never to see him again, and only to find that the Epstein files, which I have gone through myself in the Department of Justice, how absurd is this, that members of Congress have to do this, have found his name and his relationship with Mr. Epstein goes on for years and years and years, to the point of visiting the island with his wife, children, and nannies, and to the point of 5 days after that visit, entering into signing a business deal alongside Mr. Epstein. He can't be trusted. He's not telling the truth. He was, at a minimum, an Epstein enabler.
Congresswoman Madeleine Dean, Democrat of Pennsylvania, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Dozens of homes and businesses destroyed as wildfires spread across Georgia. We're going to go live to one of the hardest hit areas next.
Ruben, it's the best and the worst thing all at once. You messed up my life. I still trust you more than anyone.
Another day in the finance department. Wait, did we pay this already? 6070 airfare, 6040 meals and entertainment. Receipts, expense reports, invoices, purchase orders. What's that? RAM? Cards with built-in policies. Expenses that submit themselves? Look at it go. Okay, what does it code automatic? Oh. We're fixing the parts of finance you hate. RAM. Love finance.
When you're away from the spotlight, you have time to think about what really matters. Oh! The spotlight!
Introducing All There Is Live, where I talk to others about grief and loss, and you can join the conversation too.
Now streaming at cnn.com/allthereis.
this won't be just a stand-up show. This is bigger than just me. Pick up the pace! Here we go!
Sun's out. Time to celebrate. With luxurious outdoor furniture, entertaining pieces and accents, we have everything to meet the moment and match the mood. New ways to set the table and set the scene. Comfortable spaces that kick back and linger longer. So toast to the season and leave your guests impressed. In an outdoor space that's made for life. Front Gate.
You know what time it is. What time is it? We all do. We fight. Let's go. Give it everything you got. Everything you got. This is the NBA playoffs. This feels different. The stage is set. The mic is on. There's only one question left to answer. Who's got something to say?
The Arena with Casey Hunt, weekdays at 4 on CNN, and watch on the CNN app.
Best time of the year. There's nothing better than Stanley Cup. We have the greatest trophy in all of sports. I love hockey. Non-stop action. Any team is capable on any given night. Must see TV. This sport's the best of all time. Like there's anything more exciting than playoff hockey.
No dry cleaning needed anymore. I'm free from uncomfortable long sleeves, and the collars stay stiff all day. Get 20% off today using code TV at collarsandco.com.
The California Governor Primary Debate, live Tuesday, May 5th at 9 on CNN.
In our national lead, a drought-ridden Georgia is facing several rapidly expanding wildfires in the southeast. The Highway 82 fire has grown more than 5,000 acres, burning at least 54 structures in Brantley County, Georgia, including this wedding chapel we're showing you. CNN's Derek Van Dam is on the ground in Georgia with more on the wildfires' devastation.
My house is gone.
It's among the worst wildfires in Georgia in decades, leaving behind swaths of devastation.
This is what's left. Sad day here.
So far, officials say 87 homes have been destroyed in what's called the Highway 82 fire in southeast Georgia, and many more are considered at risk. A state of emergency declared in more than half of the state's counties, a region facing unprecedented drought conditions.
Be aware, this situation is continuing to be fluid. It's not a really good situation for the folks that are in front of this fire.
Two of the biggest fires have already burned more than 30,000 acres. Now nothing more than ash and debris. Like a scene out of a movie, flames surrounding properties, sparing some and destroying others, almost like the indiscriminate nature of a tornado. Now, when these residents left their home, they left this sprinkler going, hoping to keep any additional flames at bay. Hundreds of residents forced to evacuate as the fires quickly spread.
It wasn't panic until we seen the fire over the tree line.
Drake Smith and his young family among those who left their home quickly as flames threatened the nearby community. And when did you know that it was time to leave?
When the flames got close to us.
Making the decision to leave everything behind other than a change of clothes.
A lot of stuff we had to leave, like all the toys and everything. And most of our life was just in the trailer.
Their home in hard-hit Brantley County spared this day, but the threat is far from over and their future uncertain.
If we do have to leave, we'll have to be in the cars because we really don't have a plan.
Smoke from the fires in southeast Georgia have reached the skies over Atlanta, hundreds of miles away. The air quality deemed unhealthy. So far, there have been no reports of serious injuries or fatalities, but erratic winds and no rain in sight could make bad conditions worse. hours.
Literally within the last hour, we went from no evacuation need to a crisis evacuation need. It's just a constantly changing situation with the wind.
Jake, during a press briefing just a few moments ago, the media watched as the Highway 82 fire escalated in size. It actually created a pyrocumulus cloud, which you can see directly behind me with the smoke and the winds fueling the flames once again. We have seen large air tankers and Chinook helicopters dropping fire retardant and trying to suppress the fire. It is going to be a long and excruciating night for firefighters and authorities on the ground here in Bentley County. Jake, back
All
to
right,
you.
Derek, thanks so much. Appreciate your reporting. The House Ethics Committee is investigating allegations against Republican Congressman Corey Mills of Florida. We're going to dig into exactly what he's accused of and his response to the charges next.
Another day. Same pain, same meds, same struggling for symptom relief. Injections like Humira and Enbrel work similarly to treat moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis or psoriatic arthritis. But if your symptoms haven't improved enough, Rinvoq works differently. It's a once-daily pill that can rapidly relieve RA and PSA joint pain, stiffness, and swelling as fast as 2 weeks for some. Even after 3 years, many people felt this relief. In PSA, Rinvoq can leave skin noticeably clearer.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal, cancers including lymphoma and skin, serious allergic reactions, GI tears, death, heart attack, and stroke occurred. CV event risk increases in age 50 plus with a heart disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events: infection, Hep B or C, smoked, or pregnant, or planning. Don't take if allergic or have an infection.
Do something different. Ask your doctor if switching to Rinvoq is right for you.
In the beginning, we had to make a choice. But what we didn't realize was how far we were willing to go.
Even on an antidepressant, there are days I feel stuck in my head. Depression symptoms like lack of interest and negative thoughts can hold me back. I wanted to break through. I asked about Vraylar.